Everyone walked past the crying puppy, until one person stopped. The sidewalk was busy that afternoon, the kind of ordinary day where footsteps blend into a steady rhythm and faces blur into one another. People hurried past with phones pressed to their ears, bags swinging from their hands, thoughts already somewhere else. In the middle of all that movement, barely noticeable at first, was a small shape curled against the base of a streetlight. The puppy was no bigger than a loaf of bread. His fur was dusty, uneven, matted in places, as if he had slept wherever he could find a patch of ground. One ear flopped forward while the other stuck up, trembling each time he let out a sound. And he was crying. Not loudly, not in a way that demanded attention. It was a thin, broken whimper, the kind that sounded like it had already learned that crying too much didn't help. People walked past him. Some glanced down and quickly looked away. Others didn't notice him at all. A woman stepped around him without breaking stride. A man almost tripped, muttered something under his breath and kept going. To most of them, he was just another sad detail in a busy city, something to be ignored so the day could continue uninterrupted. The puppy lifted his head each time footsteps came close. His tail twitched once, hopeful, then fell still when no one stopped. His eyes followed shoes and shadows, searching for something he didn't fully understand but desperately needed. Hunger tightened his small belly. Thirst dried his mouth. But worse than either was the feeling that he had been left behind, forgotten in a world that didn't even slow down to see him. He had been there for hours. No one knew how he ended up on that corner. Maybe he had been born in a backyard and given away too young. Maybe someone had promised to come back and never did. Puppies don't understand promises or reasons. They only understand absence. As the afternoon light shifted and the sidewalk grew louder, the puppy's cries softened. He curled tighter into himself, conserving what little energy he had left. Each whimper seemed to cost him something. His eyes were heavy now, blinking slowly, as if sleep might be safer than hoping again. Then one person stopped. It wasn't dramatic. No sudden gasp, no rush of movement. Just a pause. A pair of worn sneakers halted a few steps past the puppy, then turned back. The person crouched slowly, careful not to scare him, as if approaching something fragile that might disappear if touched too quickly. The puppy froze. He had learned caution fast. His body stiffened, unsure whether this was another passing moment of false hope. He didn't wag his tail. He didn't bark. He just watched, eyes wide, chest rising in shallow breaths. "Hey there," the person whispered, voice low and gentle. The sound was different from the noise of the street. It wasn't rushed, it wasn't sharp. It was soft, almost unsure, as if the person was asking permission just to be there. The puppy let out a tiny cry, weaker than before, but it was enough. The person reached into their bag and pulled out a bottle of water, pouring a little into the cap and setting it on the ground. They didn't push it toward him, they didn't force anything. They simply waited. For a long moment, the puppy didn't move. Then, inch by inch, he leaned forward. His nose hovered over the cap, sniffing, checking for danger. Finally, he lapped at the water, desperately at first, then slower, as if realizing it wasn't going to disappear. The person watched, eyes filling without realizing it. Around them, life continued. People still walked past. Cars still honked. But something quiet and important was happening in that small space on the sidewalk. When the puppy finished, he looked up. For the first time all day, his tail moved. Just a little. The person smiled. That kind of smile that isn't about happiness, but about recognition. About seeing another life and deciding it matters. They noticed the puppy's ribs, the dirt on his paws, the way his body leaned toward warmth without fully trusting it. This wasn't just a lost puppy. This was a puppy who had waited too long. "I won't leave you," the person said, more to themselves than to him. Carefully, they took off their jacket and laid it on the ground. The puppy hesitated, then stepped onto it, curling into the fabric as if it were the safest place he had ever known. His crying stopped. When the person gently lifted him, he didn't resist. His small body trembled, not from fear now, but from exhaustion. He rested his head against the person's arm, eyes closing as if finally allowing himself to believe that this moment was real. They carried him away from the corner where everyone had walked past. At the veterinary clinic, The lights were bright and the smells unfamiliar. The puppy whimpered again, but the person stayed close, a hand resting on his back, steady and reassuring. The vet confirmed what was already obvious. He was dehydrated, underweight and very young, but he was strong, stronger than he looked. "He's lucky," the vet said quietly. "Someone found him when they did." The person looked down at the puppy, who was now wrapped in a towel, eyes half open, tail tapping weakly against the table. Lucky wasn't the word that came to mind. Surviving felt more accurate. That night, the puppy slept in a warm place for the first time in a long while. He dreamed, paws twitching, letting out soft sighs instead of cries. Each breath was deeper than the last. Each moment of rest stitched something broken back together. Days passed, then weeks. The puppy grew stronger. His fur softened. His eyes brightened. He learned the sound of food bowls and the meaning of gentle hands. He learned that not all footsteps walked away. Sometimes they stopped. Sometimes they stayed. And the person who had stopped that afternoon learned something too. How easy it is to miss what's right in front of us. How many small lives are waiting quietly, hoping someone will notice. Sometimes it only takes one pause, one moment of compassion, one decision to see instead of pass by. That puppy's life changed not because the world suddenly became kinder, but because one person chose to be. And maybe that's the part worth remembering, that in a busy world full of reasons to keep going, stopping can be the most powerful act of all. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to share it. Leave a comment, like the video, and subscribe to Silent Pause Stories. Because the more we tell these stories, the more chances there are that someone somewhere will stop. This story is a fictional or AI-generated narrative created to promote compassion and awareness about animal welfare. No animals were harmed,